Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome devotees to today's Bhagavatam class. Today we continue with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Verse 13. And the chapter is entitled March Parikshit, Cursed by the Brahmin Boy. And we are in the middle of the beautiful glorifications by Sutta Goswami to the sages. And he is describing the Lord's activities to March Parikshit when Sukadev Goswami is starting to relate, and the sages are eagerly waiting to hear the beautiful glorifications of the Lord. And we are very, very happy to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami with us. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to you and Prabhupada Maharaj, and it's all yours.
Thank you, Anasuya. Obeisances to everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tu Yama Lavenapihi Nasargam Napuram Bhavam Bhagavad Sangi Sangasya Martyanam Kim Utasisaha. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter, what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. Purport. When there are some similar points, it is possible to compare one thing to another. One cannot compare the association of a pure devotee to anything material. Men who are addicted to material happiness aspire to reach the heavenly planets like the moon, Venus, and Indraloka. And those who are advanced in material philosophical speculations aspire after liberation from all material bondage. When one becomes frustrated with all kinds of material advancement, one desires the opposite type of liberation, which is called apurna bhava, or no rebirth. But the pure devotees of the Lord do not aspire after the happiness attained for heavenly planets, nor do they aspire after liberation from material bondage. In other words, for the pure devotees of the Lord, the material pleasures obtainable in the heavenly planets are like phantasmagoria, and because they are already liberated from all material conceptions of pleasure and distress, they are factually liberated even in the material world. This means that the pure devotees of the Lord are engaged in a transcendental existing, naming the loving service of the Lord, both in the material world and in the spiritual world. As a government servant is always the same, either in the office or at home or at any place, so a devotee has nothing to do with anything material, for he is exclusively engaged in transcendental service of the Lord. Since he has nothing to do with anything material, what pleasure can he derive from material benefits, benedictions like kingship or other lordship, which are finished quickly with the end of the body? Devotional service is eternal, it has no end, because it is spiritual. Therefore, since the assets of a pure devotee are completely different from material assets, there is no comparison between the two. Sutta Goswami was a pure devotee of the Lord. Therefore, his association with the rishis and Namisuranya is unique. In the material world, association with gross materialists is vertically condemned. The material is called yosit sangi, or one who is much attached to material entanglement, women, and other paraphernalia. Such attachment is conditioned because it drives away the benedictions of life and prosperity. And such, the opposite of Bhagavat Sangi, or one who is always in the association with the Lord's name, form, qualities, etc. Such association is always desirable, it is worshipable, it is praiseworthy, and one may accept it as the highest goal of life. Om Agyan Timidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadatikam. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Panam Vita Gadadhar Sivasati Gauda Bhaktavinda. Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namni Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavani Pachadini Nirvasesa Sunyavadi Pastyatya Desatarine Vanchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Peva Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Panchatattva Makam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Kyam Namami Bhakti Shakti Kam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So if one is very hungry and one has nothing to eat for, say, maybe a few days, and one is starving, and someone comes along with a piece of dried loaf that has no taste to it, it's old, and you might think, oh, well, at least it's something to eat. But if someone comes along with a nice plate of Mahaprasadam decorated so nicely with all the ornamentations of the devotee who prepared the prasadam for the pleasure of the Lord, and now is offering it to you, that has so many varieties of succulent foodstuffs, such as wheat rice and halava, chutney, and what we got, say, pushpan rice, and sabjis that are saturated with ghee and nice spices, and even those who have tastes outside of the traditional Vedic culture, there might be even nicely prepared pizza and various other kinds of succulent dishes just to tantalize the tongue and spin the mind. But and then you'll think, what do I need this dry piece of bread for? It's just, give it to the dogs. So in the same way, when we taste even a drop of the happiness that comes by devotional service, everything in this material world is pale. It's useless, it's dry, it's just detrimental to one's existence. So therefore one should go for that. And here's where you find it, in the association of the great souls. Simply by their association, because they don't waste time in material topics. They're always glorifying the Lord, serving the Lord, and teaching others the same process. And by their association, one is automatically lifted up. Even if they don't speak anything, simply by their presence, just like when the sun comes, the light of the sun brings heat and warmth and light, so many benefits. It nourishes a person's health. Sun is by nature all auspicious. And then one will think, well, let me stay in the sunlight forever, because darkness is just cold and very miserable. So in the same way, one who tastes a drop of that happiness that comes in the association of these great souls will never go back to this material world. They'll understand what is actually real life. So here it's described that it cannot be compared to anything, even heavenly planets, where life is so lengthy that one cannot calculate the amount of time that one can live in the heavenly planets. It says that every 1 day on the heavenly planet is considered to be 6 months on this planet. And so the time period is much more greater, and people live up to 100 years, even on the heavenly planets, which is incalculable by material estimations of the mundane world. And even that looks very pale and dispensable, just like Prabodhananda Saraswati says, the happiness that is there in the heavenly planets is like the eggs of a horse or flowers in the sky compared to the happiness of bhakti. Well, flowers in the sky, there's no such thing. Eggs of a horse don't deliver eggs. So these qualities that are given some analogies just show that there is nothing in this material world for those who actually are those who understand their true nature. The people who chase after this material life are like dogs looking for bones that have nothing, that have no taste left in them. Material life is like chewing the chewed. You taste something, you spit it out, and then you pick it up and you taste it again and try to get some more juice out of it. In India, they take the sugar cane and they run it through, and then the juice comes out, and then they have the cane left, and they run it through a second time. They get a little bit more juice. And then they try to run it through again, and then hardly anything comes out, and you're just left with a dry cane. There's nothing there. That's material life. People's happiness in material life is like a pot of misery for those who actually understand what is real happiness and where to find it on the spiritual level, in association with devotees, in the process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, which are unlimited. As the Lord is unlimited, his glories are unlimited. Material life, you find some little drop of happiness in some aspect of material existence. You try to squeeze that drop out, but then again, it goes away, and then you look for another drop somewhere else. And it's just a futile existence. And you can see it's not a matter of just speaking. People in the material world are suffering in the name of chasing after happiness. That's it. It's there, it's prevalent. And I was just reading some of the statistics that people send me all of these different things that have some connection with health. It says that the latest statistics is that every 3 seconds, this is really incredible statistics, every 3 seconds, somebody in the material world comes down with dementia. They can't remember who they are, or they forget their known, or they wander around in different places and get lost and can't find their way back. They can't think of even the simplest things that became ordinary in their early years. So now everybody is brain dead, pretty much. It's becoming like that. And now it's being statistics with all kinds of health problems that people are going through. Alzheimer's, which is dementia anyway, and various other types of diseases. Because the more you chase after material life, the more you chase after suffering. And so, because that's what it ends in. Any kind of happiness that you squeeze out of it, it becomes later on a source of further misery, and the misery is exasperated. Just like, here's a little kind of a silly analogy, but it's an analogy. How much pleasure can you derive from the small toe on your foot? How much pleasure can that little toe give you? But if somebody drops a hammer on it, or a rock or something heavy, that toe will give you tremendous amount of suffering. Now, in the same way, this material world is like that. We look for happiness in society, friendship, and love. And we squeeze out a little drop, and we try to hang on to that drop The drop is evaporating fast. And when it evaporates, we look for a drop somewhere in the same category. And again, and so the Bhagavatam explains that, material happiness is another form of is another form of suffering. But the worst part about chasing after material happiness, we forget about where real happiness is, and we waste our time going after something that we could actually achieve if we turn our directions towards devotional service. Now, those who take part in devotional service, especially as Krishna describes, when they glorify him, his name, his form, his qualities, and pastimes, they uplift their consciousness to the spiritual realm. And in the spiritual realm, there is no inebriety, there is no suffering, there is no duality. Everything is absolute, pure, and elevating in consciousness. It awakens the soul's natural proclivity for happiness, and it inspires the soul with transcendental knowledge. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught this through his practice of Harinam Sankirtan. And devotees would chant and dance for so long that even though they were tired, they forgot they were tired. Even though they were hungry, forgot they were hungry. The chanting of the holy name just takes one beyond all material needs and feelings, and it brings one to another level of experience. So this is where, so here it says, in the association of great souls, these activities they are performed regularly. Great souls don't just sit around and discuss philosophy. They're active. They're chanting. They're experiencing happiness. They're giving that to others. They discuss philosophy, but the philosophy always ends with some kind of spiritual practice in serving the Lord and glorifying the Lord in different ways. And the whole Bhagavatam is situated on that principle. The Bhagavatam actually is non-different than the holy name. The Bhagavatam actually expresses that. Idam Bhagavatam Nama. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it says the Bhagavatam is actually the name personified in the form of literary sound. So the Bhagavatam is just full of transcendental nectar about the name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. But there's two types of people, the crows and the swans. Last week I was taking a walk near the place where I'm staying here in Croatia, and there's a nice river. And I came to the river and I saw two swans near the bank of the river. And you just watch the swans. They're so graceful and so beautiful to look at. And although it's a bird, it's still very attractive. It's the best of all bird species, the swan. And it just glides along the river like effortlessly, like there's no effort in the swan. It just moves. It's like it flows. And then there's another kind of bird, it's called the crow. The crows fly in the air, they make very horrible sounds, and they look for garbage. And when they find some piece of garbage, they get excited. And then their cawking becomes even louder. But they're just chasing after the refuge that is thrown away in the form of garbage. Or like the pig, if you give him a nice plate of halva, he won't even look at it. You give him a pile of nice, sweet smelling stool. That's an analogy only. He'll consider his pig life successful. So this is the material world. So there's two kinds of people, the swans and the crows. The swans go by the beautiful lakes and streams and the beautiful environment, and the swan can take a mixture of milk and water and drink. He'll drink the milk and leave the water. He has that certain. The devotee, although the devotee is in the material world, he doesn't touch the material world. He sees what it is, and he goes for the nectar. And that nectar is the name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, and the opportunity to serve the Lord with the desire to please the Lord, which gives great pleasures to the swan-like devotees. So here, this is very nice purport. Prabhupada is really emphasizing the beauty of devotional service and what we say, the horrors of chasing after the wrong thing, the material life. Because material life is not life. It's simply, it's like that dry piece of bread we mentioned at the beginning. And when you're hungry, you'll eat anything. But when you actually know where to find that delicacy, that sweet tasting feast that been prepared so nicely by the swan-like devotees, then you won't even think of that dry bread anymore. And now devotees are in the material world, but they're not in the material world. They just see the material world as just a place where they have to do their duty and then get out. And their duty is to become Krishna conscious. That's all. And we find that if you go to the association of pure devotees, or those who are fixed in devotional service, we might call them pure devotees also. Those whose activities are only to glorify and serve the Lord, those devotees, we may not see them as pure devotees, but they have understood the process of how to achieve perfection in life. So they may be pot washers, they may be people distributing books, or they may be people who are just driving devotees to different places. In other words, their service is not so much the indication, but the fact that they're engaged fully in service and are always eager to hear the glories of the Lord. These devotees, their association is very much desirable because of that, those qualities that they imbue, one becomes affected by and saturated with those same qualities, and one starts to sing, dance, and shout, and forgets about the miseries that come by living in this material world. Okay, so these are some of the points, this verses. I mean, there's much more we can say in here. Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu Sarva Shastri Hoy, Lavamatta Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. That one who seriously takes shelter of the association of devotees, all of their material reactions can be dissipated within not even a second. The verse emphasizes it's not a hyperbole or or some kind of eulogy or some kind of overstatement. It is actually a reality. Devotees who had association with Srila Prabhupada could say that in that association, the material world wasn't even there anymore. They experienced something very wonderful just by being in Prabhupada's association. Not even if Prabhupada wasn't speaking, simply by being in that same area where Prabhupada was, he exuded that type of sweet spiritual energy that made everyone feel, peaceful, happy. And of course, when he spoke, that was a whole different thing. Then, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Korea Aikya Anal Karina Moni As. That Vakya, that transcendental sound vibration and glorification of the Lord spoken by the pure devotees is like a great nectar of sweet juice that comes pouring onto one's tongue after one has been thirsty for many, many days. So it's very sweet. So this is Krishna consciousness, but we have to be eager for it. If you're not eager for it, then the material world will make you eager for these dry, dead cakes of stale bread that we chew, spit out, and then try to chew it again. What do we get? Another chance to spit it out. So this is it. So it says here, what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. Devotees are not meant for death, they're meant for eternal life, because they are eternal, and they're engaged in that activity that brings their consciousness to the realm of eternality, devotional service. We should always remember that devotional service is not part of this material world. It is descended from the spiritual world into the hearts of the pure devotees who distribute it to everyone and everywhere. It is the internal energy of the Lord. Its personification is in the form of Srimati Radharani, who is the foundation for all bhakti. She is the perfection of bhakti in its ultimate principle. It's so perfect that it's not even describable. But when Radharani blesses you by the opportunity to engage in service to Krishna, you can consider yourself most fortunate. Most fortunate. So we pray for the mercy of Srimati Radharani and in the opportunity to serve Krishna. And the more we can serve Krishna, the more we can free ourselves from this material suffering that comes by way of living with this material body. And even if the devotee undergoes some material suffering due to the having a material body, it doesn't, they just think it's incidental. We just tolerate it. And then they go on with their devotional service, and gradually they transcend all of their so-called suffering. So this verse is very powerful. The value of a moment's association, it doesn't say, lifetimes of a moment, cannot even be compared to any other benediction, whether it's heavenly, spiritually, or worldly. None of these things can compare, even a moment's association. So one should seek out, and when seeking out the association of great souls means to have an opportunity to offer service and to hear from them about the transcendental nature of the all-good Supreme Personality of Godhead, as it says in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But the rising and the setting of a sun, another day is lost and one is close to death, except for those who engage in hearing about the all-good Supreme Personality of Godhead. Death does not touch a devotee because they are deathless, because they're acting on the platform of deathlessness, which is the spiritual platform. So when their body is no longer functionable, they just take their soul is just transported to Krishna in the spiritual world, or to Krishna somewhere in the material world where they can associate with him directly in performing his leelas in this material world. So there's no loss in devotional service. There's no gain in material life. Yay. We'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Mark, for such a wonderful class. It really, as you said, the verse carries more weight than we can speak on. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to request devotees if you can turn on your videos wherever you're at, if possible, so we can take each other's association. And the first question, Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu, it's all yours. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Please accept my humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you and your service, and my humble obeisances to all devotees. Guru Maharaj, I find that we have no shortage of opportunities for service, and we have no shortage of opportunities for being in amongst, in the presence of, serving and in serving with devotees, advanced devotees, sometimes one or more pure devotees. But how can we prepare ourselves so we can, when we're in that association, say with a pure devotee, how can we prepare ourselves so we can fully absorb the benefits of being in the association of that pure devotee?
If you have the opportunity, ask a question. If you don't have that opportunity, then just hear if they're speaking. And if you don't have that opportunity, then look for some ways to do some service to that personality. Now you have some choices. But the process is to hear from these great souls, because they like to speak. And they enjoy speaking about Krishna, about devotional service. And even if they speak about something that is not directly devotional service, it's always in one way related to devotional service. So there's always benefit in that association. The reason why we don't take benefit is that because we don't really understand how to take that association properly. So here's the look for it and just hear. Ask questions when the opportunity arises. Come with questions before you go into that association. Think of questions to ask. Questions that are important to you. Questions that maybe you've been struggling with in your spiritual life. Or the general question, how can I make advancement in Krishna consciousness? That's a general question you can ask to any great soul.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Well,
Very nice question, Prabhu. Thank you. Amritanam, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances of glories to Srila Prabhupada. My question is related to what Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu asked, but I'll go a little further. Once when a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada that you say so many things, you have given us so many things, but still we are not able to take it. So Prabhupada said that your consciousness is not like that. Your consciousness is still lacking something. So when we get even a moment of association of a pure soul, how to prepare our consciousness in a way that we can grasp even the uh, drop of what he gives us?
it's based on the hearing process. When pure devotees speak, listen. Learn how to absorb yourself into what they're saying. Think about what they say. Ask questions based on what you hear, if the need comes up. But even if you're not able to ask questions, or just like Prabhupada gave a very poignant example of how the hearing process works. That devotees would travel with Prabhupada, and sometimes Prabhupada would be in an all Indian audience. All the persons were Indians in different places in India when he would travel with his Western disciples. So he would give classes in the morning and in the evening. So in the morning, he would give classes in Hindi, and in the evening, he would give classes in English. So when devotees were sitting in Prabhupada's classes in the morning, speaking Hindi, some of them would get up and start leaving. Prabhupada said, "Where are you going? Sit down. Just listen. The sound vibration is purifying. Just listen." even if you don't understand. That's an extreme example of how powerful it is to hear from a pure devotee, whether it's understandable or not. But when it's understandable, it's even more powerful. So yeah, apply the hearing process. And in order to perfect the quality of our hearing, we need to organize our life in such a way that we can take care of our bodily necessities without too much difficulty. That's why the Bhagavatam says, by regulating eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, one can develop a type of attention that is absorbing. If we don't manage our bodily necessities, it becomes harder for us to stay focused on the hearing process. Mind, it becomes too restless, wandering too much.
So, Guru Maharaj, how much stress should we give in our daily routine to hearing than reading and other?
Reading is hearing. You can't say reading is something else. It's hearing. Hearing is hearing, reading is hearing, both are hearing. So if you're giving attention to either form of knowledge, then that's hearing. That's fine. Some devotees like to read more than they like to hear the lectures. Some like to do the other, but both are available. Of course, when you have the personal association, then it's much more, what we say, direct. Just like one of the examples of, if you're sitting and listening to a lecture, if you look at the person who's speaking as you're hearing and you're watching, you get much more from what is being said than if you don't see the person. Say you're sitting a distance away and you don't see the speaker, all you do is hear the speaker. The availability of receptivity is minimized because you're not as focused on the speaker as if you were to both see and hear as you were in the process of hearing. I was just talking to my godbrother about that. He was telling me about he couldn't see the speaker. He was sitting in another room because there was no room available in the main room. And he was struggling to stay connected to the hearing process. When you're watching the speaker, you're also being pulled into his energy as he speaks, and it becomes much more absorbing and more easily understandable also. So do whatever you can to hear. So if you prefer the sound vibration spoken directly, then seek out that association. I mean, that's why our temples are there. Prabhupada created these temples, and we have classes every day. And we can hear recordings. We can go to places and get our associations from our favorite speakers. I mean, everything is available, but sometimes you have to make an effort. Sometimes you have to break out of a routine in order to establish a spiritual routine. But the old saying is, where there's a will, there's a way. People are defeated simply by the material energy, and they can't see that beyond that, there is the hand of Krishna. When they want to do something spiritual, they decidedly depend on Krishna. They can cut through all of the apparent difficulties that come with performing the activity that Maya might present.
Hope that helped, Amritanam.
Yeah, Prabhupada,
Yes.
Prabhupada said there's no impediments in spiritual life. We create our own impediments. These are all due to our association with the material energy. We create impediments.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. There's a lot to rethink again. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for a very deep question, Amrita. Very deep. Thank you. Marge, there's a question in the chat by Mother Scarlett. She said, Hare Krishna, may I humbly ask, how can one get over one's fear of being taken advantage of?
Mhm. Nobody can take advantage of you unless you allow them. People may try, but they can only be successful if you let them if you allow them. Just like there's an example. There was one famous personality. He was a sadhu, and one man came up and started to harass him and start speaking very negatively. He didn't do anything. He just carried on with his own business. After some time, the man went away. And the person who was also, another person was there watching the whole thing. And he approached the man. He said, wow, that man was very, very rude and nasty to you, but I could see it didn't bother you at all. How'd you do that? He said, when someone tries to give you something and you don't take it, they have to keep it. So if you accept the negativity, you'll be disturbed by it. So that might seem to be a little difficult for the ordinary person, but it's possible for devotees. Oh, yeah, all right. Well, just like I remember one devotee, they were criticizing her. It was a she. She was a senior devotee. After she heard the criticism, it was in written form, she wrote back and said, you actually missed a few points that you could have criticized me on, and there's actually more. So, only something.
She
Because
really tried to drag it to make a point.
so in other words, is when people are speaking negatively towards you, they're not speaking to you, they're speaking to your shadow, which is not you. Because the soul, you, there's only good qualities in you. If you're exhibiting some negative qualities, that's your shadow. That's not actually you. It's the covering over you, which is the material body, which is reflected as the shadow you. The material body is not you, it's the shadow you. So that may be hard when we get offended or we get disturbed by what people say. Why'd you say that? It's not true. And then we start getting, we start making all kinds of sounds that sound like somebody's being beaten or something. But it's not. Somehow you just have to tolerate it and go on and don't let it bother you. Unless it's absolutely necessary to deal with it in order to go on with the program that needs to be dealt with. There may be some reason. Then you have to work it out in such a way. So there's the principle of forgiveness, which allows one to move forward. Someone is offending you, forgive them. But don't forget that this situation can happen again. So try to avoid being in that situation again where it happens. So they say, There's three ways you can deal with that. You can forgive and forget. You can forgive and not forget. Or you could discuss it with the person and try to ameliorate the problem. That's your only three options.
Very strong, amazing, relatable points, Mars. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to go to Sri Devi first, Krishna covers, and then I'll come back to you, okay? Go ahead, Sri Devi.
Thank you, Ansuya. Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your holiness. Your answer to Scarlet Mataji makes me think a little bit more about how to help devotees who struggle with feelings of
Regret.
jealousy, insecurity, low self-esteem, and are, so caught in these feelings that it's very hard for them to focus on spiritual life.
Yeah. Impressions upon the mind due to experiences in the past that were somewhat traumatic or negative leave their impressions. And then, but one have to somehow or other, sometimes it requires some effort to break that person or get them to see life in a different way. But that's why we do this. We have devotees who do that kind of counseling, trying to understand what is the source of the problem and why why that problem has caused them so much trauma, and try to work with that. It might take a little time, but when there are people who are skilled at that.
Thank you very much.
We call it spiritual counseling. Sometimes we just tell them chant Hare Krishna, but even that doesn't seem to be enough for them to accept and go move on. They need to speak to someone about their situation. They need them have an empathetic ear, and at the same time, they need to hear some possibilities of how they can see the same situation in a different way, because they get caught in that cycle and they can't see. But someone from outside who has some experience can give them another perspective, which will help them to get out of their circle of suffering or regret or whatever. So that's why we do spiritual counseling. That's there. There are devotees who are good at that, and there are devotees who are, make it their service. They do it regularly.
Hope that helps, Sri Devi.
Yes, thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Ansuya.
Thank you. Krishna Karsh for Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Guru Maharaj, you're talking about devotional service being a joyful process. But I experience that sometimes it can be an extremely painful process. Like this Sunday, 2 days ago, we had a festival for Ram Navami, and it was a ticketed event because the crowds were so huge. And we were told it's strictly no ticket, no entry. So when it came to like the first person that we couldn't take, obviously we're like explained everything and we're very nice about it and all the rest of it. And even if they were voluntary leaving, but because they would come to the entrance of the temple and we were turning them around, and that was so incredibly painful. It's like a spear going straight into the heart and being twisted around. And every moment I recall the instances, and there's very few people that were turned around. There were tens of thousands that came, and the number that turned around we had to turn around, but probably you could count them on your hands. But I remember every single one, and even when I recall it again and again, and it's like cutting me up inside all the time. And now I struggle to concentrate on my chanting. I struggle to concentrate on my reading because it's just tearing me apart, Maharaj.
If I was at the door taking the tickets, I would say, oh, you don't have a ticket. You were supposed to have a ticket, so don't forget next time. Go ahead, go on in.
I did that last year, but this year they told us they were being extra strict.
This is not Krishna consciousness to turn people away. Stack them on top of each other, but fit them in, you know. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati would have these festivals, 20,000 people would come, feed everybody. I don't think Prabhupada would go along with that program of turning people away. The only way you turn people away if they're actually troublemakers, but otherwise, you know, everyone's welcome. And what you said about turning people away and how it feels is, yeah, it feels like that because you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Turning people away.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to go against the service authority. Well,
Yeah.
I was a bit naughty and I let some in while no one was looking, but they were watching carefully.
Yeah, you were a good boy in that case. I couldn't turn anybody away. I would just say, oh, didn't you know it's only a ticketed event, but since you didn't know or you forgot your ticket or whatever, you can come on in, but next time remember your ticket. That's what that would have been my response.
Yeah, that was my response last year, but it's just like we were told no this year.
Well, we're told so many things.
Okay, Maharaj.
Wouldn't it be possible to have someone ready to sell the tickets to them if they have not shown up with the tickets? Okay, just go to that booth and pay the money and get your ticket.
Oh, we were doing that. We were doing
It
that.
was free tickets, Mataji. There was no money as well. I don't understand this ticketing business too.
Oh,
Sri Devi Mataji, we were doing that. Those that didn't have a ticket, we were taking them to one side. I was helping them step by step go onto the Manna website, and where they were available, which was like 95% of the time, they were able to book. And for some of them, I actually had to take their phone and do it for them because they were just unable to do it.
Is this that Bhaktivedanta Manor?
Yes.
My God.
So in the 6 hours that I was there was only about 3 people that I turned around.
The temple's so small anyway, they can only fit about 150 in the temple room. So even if they have 10,000, it's not gonna. If they have 20,000, it's not gonna make a difference. They got the Haveli. They got so many grounds around. You could put You could put 100,000 people in that area. Yeah, it's just. To turn people away from a spiritual event is it's not Krishna conscious. I mean, you can admonish them for not getting their ticket, but then let them in anyway. Make them feel like they made a mistake, but don't deny them the opportunity to come.
Some people come from
Even
such
took
a
mine.
far away places as well, and they have to go back, which is so bad, Guru Maharaj, so bad. They travel about an hour and a half just to take a darshan, and then you tell them, oh, you don't have ticket, you just go.
Yeah, it's not, I don't go along with that kind of program. It's-
Loads of people don't attend now because they said, oh, we can't be asked to buy the tickets. This we don't understand, because whenever you go on the website, tickets not available.
Well, why do you have to buy a ticket to see the Lord?
I don't understand. That was started at the COVID time, but it just goes on now as well.
Not doesn't. Krishna is for everybody.
Yeah,
Christ
I
is-
don't go.
Lord,
I don't go at the festival if I can't go morning aarti.
Lord Nityananda, Boro Sukya Kavagai, Sura Bikundechi, Namira Kudeche, Koda Nitai. He's a merchant. He's selling the holy name. You have to pay the price. He's not going to give you the holy name free. But the price is not currency or, euros or pounds or dollars. Currency is your faith. The amount of faith you have, that's how much you get of the commodity. If I have faith, then, in Krishna consciousness, and I want to take an opportunity to express my devotion to the Lord. The deity of the Lord comes in the form of a deity. The temples are there to facilitate people's desire to connect. I mean, if the people are rowdy or if they're troublemakers or like that, then there could be a restricting program. But anybody who comes who honestly wants to come for darshan should be given the opportunity. What's that? What if you can't see it?
It's been something.
Need another one?
If it was a crowd control issue, like Silpesh Prabhu was saying, probably if they had like time slots, give everybody tickets, if that's what it is, then have time slots 10 to 11, and then the whole day feed the Lord and let everybody see the Lord and just have the crowd control all day. Then
It is
everyone
time.
gets the mercy.
Yeah, it is time slots. It's so they
And they still turn people away.
Yeah, our temples are becoming business programs now.
Oh,
We should, Prabhupada explain, temples should be able to have enough money through their preaching, through their outreach, through their programs, where they can facilitate these programs for everyone. That's what preaching is about, to bring in money, to bring in people, to solicit donations. Temples shouldn't be poor that they can't facilitate, selling prasadam, that's another thing. Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada said, anyone who comes to the temple should not go away without receiving prasadam. He was so strong on that. I mean, if someone was going away and he saw them not getting prasadam, that he would say to the devotees, go give that person some prasadam, even as they were leaving.
Oh, they still got their prasadam. Everyone got prasadam on the way out.
But they're just giving one box per car. Guru Purnima, they would only give one little box of prasadam per car on the way out, and it wasn't like you could have prasadam there anymore like they used to. So
That's not what I saw. I saw them giving out multiple.
Guru Purnima, at Guru Purnima, it was different.
But to not to blow things out of proportion, to be honest, I was on that service for 6 hours and we let tens of thousands in, and I only know of 3 cars that turned around. And one of them, they voluntarily turned around. They didn't even want to go onto the website and book their ticket. They said, I'll come back. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure I can help you book a ticket? Because I didn't want them to go. But yeah, so out of tens of thousands, there's only 3 that I know of that turned around. So it's not a big thing, but those 3, I just remember them all the time, and I was like, cuts me up every time.
You can think if you were one of the three, how would it affect you?
I think it affects me more being the one that's like, I can't get you in.
Well, you knew it ahead of time, you took the service.
I didn't know until I got there because I thought it would be like last year, well, I can let them in anyway. And just like say, please get a ticket next time type thing.
Okay, let's move on to something else.
Okay.
Thank you,
Maharaj.
Maharaj. Bhikkhu Prabhu, please go on with your question, Prabhu.
No more about the tickets. That's not the discussion.
I fully agree. Hare Krishna Maharaj. My humble obeisances. Only thing I wish to comment is that yes, devotee association is really vital. And I try and seek that either in person or on phone or whichever way technology allows, because it's difficult to really be face to face with the devotees, but any opportunity that I get, I use it. And I think you have highlighted a very important point of books as also a form of hearing. So all these things help us in our devotional activities. And thank you for your comments. And I won't say anything about the ticket. It's a free ticket event. I visited and I was in good time, but your points are well taken. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Bhikkhu Prabhu. Jagdish Prabhu, you had your hand up and twice. I want to make sure that you get your question in, Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, obeisance to you, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I've got a question for you. I read the Bhagavatam, and I didn't really understand it. I went through it, I read it for years on end. And then he says that the only way you'd understand the Bhagavatam is by being a devotee. And now, because I'm doing this class near enough every day with you, I find it quite easy to understand most of it. But is it the same for the Gita? Do you have to be a devotee to understand the Gita?
You understand what was that word?
The Bhagavad Gita.
Gita. Well, that's the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. And Krishna says this knowledge is for the devotee, or those who are practicing devotional service. Yeah. Because it's just like, the analogy is like the honey bottle. The honey bottle looks good, but if you just lick the outside of the honey bottle, you don't get any sweetness. You have to open it up and taste the contents. In the same way, when we practice devotional service, vidya vadu jivanam, that transcendental knowledge becomes awakened through the process of bhakti. Lord Chaitanya says that. Nam namakarti. No, I'm sorry. What is that verse? Chaito darpana marjanam, bhava mahadevagni nirvapanam, sreya kaiva vikendrika vitaranam, vidya vadu jivanam, vidya, knowledge, vadu, bride, jivanam, life. Transcendental knowledge becomes awakened by the presence of the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all spiritual practice. But those who chant the holy name regularly, they have no problem understanding. But those who don't chant or don't do any service, their minds will simply try to interpret what they read, and it'll always fall short of the actual understanding. Yeah, it's almost, if you go into an area of business people, they have their particular language that they use to communicate their activities in the business world. So you may not understand exactly what they're saying because they use certain terminologies only they understand. In the same way that in devotional circles, there is a certain qualification for understanding, and that is to be connected to the process. Therefore, if you're not connected to the process, you have to hear about the process from someone who knows the process, and they'll explain it to you. And then that's the beginning of your gaining knowledge. But as you gain knowledge, then when you start to read, it becomes more clearer what you're reading. It becomes understandable. But it's all based on devotional life, yeah. Krishna says in the very end of Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge is for the devotee, or those who engage in devotional service.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Prabhu. Vrindavan Lal Prabhu, please go ahead with the question.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to you, Maharaj. Maharaj, my question is related to Krishna Kaviraj Prabhu question, where it was mentioned that best usage of devotee association mean hearing and asking proper questions. But my feeling is that when I read Prabhupada books, I feel same association. While doing any service, I feel it's mercy of my spiritual master. So I feel that presence. So my question here is, Guru Maharaj, that this devotee association, does it mean only physical association, or it can be related to virtual?
The association is understood as vakya, the words. Physical proximity is not the complete association, because physically we may also make mistakes, act wrong, or misinterpret. Through the sound vibration, there's Vani and Vapu. Vani is more direct. So by hearing, that is the actual connection in association with the spiritual master. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Oikea. The words of my spiritual master is actually my life and soul. I get nourishment for that. That's what that verse means. Another one is, what's that? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya Ana Koriya Manayas. Guru Mukha, what's the next line? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Koriya Aikya Ana Koriya
Shri
Manayas.
Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati.
Yeah, Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati Ye Prasadi Purve Sarva As. I don't need to go anywhere else. This is where everything is there. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttamagati Ye Prasadi Purve Sarva As. Everything is there in the words of my spiritual master. I just have to learn how to accept the hearing process in the way that is beneficial. We have to practice the hearing process, because the mind is restless. The mind is also obstinate. The mind will also reinterpret something in a different way. So not only hearing, but clarification of what is being said comes by way of questioning. So any form of hearing, either virtual or direct, is effective if we're actually hearing. On the virtual side of hearing, we could be doing other things while we're listening. When you're sitting in the audience and you're there in person, if you're doing something else, everyone notices it, including the speaker. That's why some people don't turn their cameras on, because they want to do other things while they're listening to this class. Therefore, they minimize their ability to actually learn. Some people don't turn their camera on for other reasons, but some want to cook or have to take care of some business, so they want to hear the class too, so they're trying to get both things done. So I don't fault them for that reason, but they should understand that they minimize the hearing process by dividing the hearing process with some other activity. Because it's more than just hearing, it's actually understanding through the process of hearing.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you. I think my takeaway here is it's attentive listening,
Right.
plus also following and meditating on those hearing properly.
And then the meditation will bring questions if there's some need for clarification.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Very nice question, Prabhu. Thank you so much for asking, re-asking, going deeper in it. Marge, there's a question in the chat from Sakshi, and she's asking, material, let me go up a little bit. Please, Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Material sufferings in devotees' life is quite evident. May I know, why do devotees face spiritual sufferings?
Spiritual sufferings?
That's how she put it. Yes, Marge.
Spiritual sufferings are separation from Krishna, which is the highest form of happiness. It looks like suffering from the outside, but inside it's the greatest form of happiness. Spiritual sufferings, she might say, well, I wanted to do this service and it didn't come out, and I'm feeling unhappy because I wasn't up to the standard, or I wanted to go to the kirtan, but I missed the ride. Is that what spiritual sufferings do we really categorize? What is spiritual sufferings?
I'm gonna see if she puts. Okay, there she's.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, we accept my humble obeisances. Maharaj, suffering in terms of having issues with your leaders, like some misunderstandings, some sort of misunderstandings and conflicts with your leadership. I don't know if that comes under spiritual suffering or material suffering. I don't know, but yes, some kind of misunderstanding.
Because we're acting in devotional service, if there's some misunderstanding, it's not taken to be so serious. We can turn to fourth canto, 30th chapter, verse number 8. Can someone read the purport?
I can read it, Marge. Let me just go down the purport. Since the sons of Prachina Barhishat were all united in Krishna consciousness, the Lord was very pleased with them. Each and every one of the sons of King Prachina Barhishat was an individual soul, but they were united in offering transcendental service to the Lord. The unity of the individual souls attempting to satisfy the Supreme Lord or rendering service to the Lord is real unity. In the material world, such unity is not possible. Even though people may officially unite, they all have different interests. And in the United Nations, for instance, all the nations have their particular national ambitions, and consequently, they cannot be united. Disunity between individual souls is so strong within material.
Highlight this part, disunity, and then go down the page.
Disunity between individual souls is so strong within this material world that even in the society of Krishna consciousness, Members sometimes appear disunited due to their having different opinions and leaning toward material things.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Actually, in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be two opinions. There's only one goal, to serve Krishna to one's best ability. If there is some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Those who are actually engaged in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be disunited in any circumstance. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benediction to his devotees, as indicated in this verse. We can see that the Lord is immediately prepared to award all benedictions to the sons of King Prachinabarhishat.
So members sometimes appear disunited due to having different opinions and leaning towards material things. So that's the appearance of disunity. But as long as the program is devotional service, then there's no disunity, even though there might be different opinions.
I hope that answered your question, Sakshi Mataji.
And if we bring in leaning towards material things, that means sometimes we bring in something that is not necessary. So it caused some apparent disunity. But as it says, even if there's some disagreement over service, such disagreement is to be taken as spiritual. Because service is service. It's never material.
Thank you, Maharaj. The purpose very clear. A lot of your questions. Thank you.
Sridevi, go ahead.
Thank you, Ansuya. Dear Guru Maharaj, one more quick question. Is it that Krishna will test us in our services to see how sincerely we are doing that service, and if we are following the instructions of the spiritual master properly before we can aspire for more service or some other service, etc.? Is it that we have to first be faithful in what is given to us before aspiring for more or different?
Well, it's like that, yeah. If you're given something to do and you really are not into it and don't do it right, then, or whatever reason, there may be some reasons, then why would you ask for more? Just try to work on what are you doing and offer it in the best possible way. Service is always available. I mean, no one's going to stop anyone from doing service generally. But you won't be able to appreciate the service unless you actually put your attention into it. And devotion also. Service will become like routine work after a while if there's no enthusiasm to offer to Krishna to make it nice. After a while, it becomes just routine, and then we think, oh, well, I'll just do it. I'll do whatever I want to do.
Thank you, Marge. Hope that helped, Sridevi.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing again, and I'm going to ask devotees, are there any questions that you would like to ask? If you can either raise your hand or put in the chat. And I'm going down the list to make sure that there's no questions asked. Marge, before we end, would you like to end with the round of chanting, Marge?
Haribol.
Haribol, Marge.
The holy name gives life to transcendental knowledge.
Haribol.
Yay. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Hare Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Krishna Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram. Right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Krishna, Hare Hare, Jai Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasari Gaura, Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Marsh, for such a wonderful, deep class. Lots of amazing questions. And I hope we all learned from all those questions as we went through the class. And we thank you all for joining us. Vanchakrapatibhyascha, Kripasindhavevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Holiness Candramauli Swami Ki Jai.
Jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hi.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Guru Maharaj.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for good class.
Thank you, Susanna, for the nice gift.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Just from my heart. But hope it's okay, size-wise.
Something I can use. Thank you. Okay, we'll see
Hare
you
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
tomorrow. This Thursday, is it Harrisburg?
You know, Maharaj, I think so. I don't remember. I have to admit, I don't remember.
Well, I have some news is that I'm traveling on Thursday
Uh-oh.
at that same time. So
I can actually quickly check. No, Marge is not. So we will see you next week, Marge. So I didn't lose out.
let's see, the following Thursday
Yeah.
is May 2nd.
The following Thursday is May. Yes, Marge, May 2nd.
Yeah, I'll be here for that.
Haribol.
And after
I'm
that,
safe.
and after that, we begin the retreat. So, yeah.
All right, Marge.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So,
Haribol, Marge. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Anusuya. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hari Bol.